Howdy, howdy. Sue Devil here. It is Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, and we have some patch notes for the Make Love Not War, or Make War Not Love event. There are some definite changes and some definite big changes that affect the DAOE, so we're just going to review the patch notes quickly and see what there is in there. There's some balance changes and some bug fixes, so we'll go down and look at the patch notes. So the general patch notes, they fix crash during end turn cycles. It's noticeable on Zlan Huapek's turn. Fixed audio crashes in battles. Fixed spellcasters being able to spam projectile spells while mounted on horses or Pegasus during battles. Optimized performance of Great Incantation of Ksar Rites in the Sandstorm in campaigns. In Mortal Empire's co-op campaign, Archon and Cetra can now engage in diplomacy with each other. A number of preset army setups that can be saved in multiplayer has been increased. Oh, awesome. The Keptra Guard Regiment, a renowned unit, will no longer be recruitable multiple times. Okay, small bug. Prevented the Chaos Invasion appearing and killing the rogue armies with Books of Nagash and aborting the player's mission to attain them. Ooh, that was not a good one. Increase the limit of canopic jars so players can get more crafted armies from the mortuary cult. Added more voiceover to Tomb King's skeletons during battle. Clackety doot. Fixed progression blocker caused by entering new campaign as Tomb King's faction, then entering diplomacy by double-clicking another non-Tomb King's faction settlement on the overview map, then offering them a diplomatic deal. The Herald's empowered Tomb King's tech can now be unlocked by completing the final dynasty instead of all dynasties. When single entity units are fighting in battle, they will no longer disengage so often, which replenished their charge bonus incorrectly. Ah, interesting. Okay, so sounds like a nerf to large entity units. Fixed a bug to the Awaken button on the Mortuary Cult. On a new destiny, it didn't activate until the next turn. It can now be activated when the resources are gathered. Added heroes to the Tomb King's garrisons. Okay, good. That'll make their garrisons more powerful. Tomb King's Legions of Legend are now correctly affected by Lord's Red Tree buff skills buff. That's good. Fix some flickering on the campaign map terrain and certain graphics settings for GTX 980 graphics cards. Okay. The Necrosphinx and Hero Titan masks will no longer flip around during battle. Oh, I never noticed that. Fixed a weird bug where Kalita's staff would appear on random impacts during battles. I mean, how does that even happen? Baffling. The victory message at the end of campaigns is now displayed correctly. Rogue armies carrying a Book of Nagash will now stop following their patrol path and attack anyone who declares war on them. Okay. Fix the Bretonia garrison building, getting worse cavalry units per upgrade. Fix some vampire regions not having any vampiric corruption in the Mortal Empires campaign. Tomb King's monsters can now be scaled up in the laboratory mode. Fixed achievement localization mismatches, Russian, Polish, Turkish, and Chinese. The dark side of More Celeb achievement has been fixed. Modding. Fixed the dynamic script loading not working correctly. And added Tomb King's prefabs to Terry in the assembly kit. Battle map updates. So they just added the following custom battle maps to Quick Battle Mode, Charnel Valley, Tomb of the Shifting Sands, Vulture Ridge, The Lost Crater, Mortis Waste, Spice Dunes. That's one of the maps that I do quite like. Plateau of the Dead and Plains of the Dead. And replace the battle map environments for Dokkaras, Eshin, Galbaraz, Gorgazan, Karak Dran, Karak Azgal, Karak Buftar, Karak Ungor, Langui, Norden, Orkenhammer, Prague, Swarchafen, Volksgrad, Waldenhalf, Kelp and Coal Dust, multiplayer Herrit Ridge, multiplayer Peaks Pass, multiplayer Blue Reach River. Now here we go with the balance changes, and some of these are pretty big. So first of all, the Great Swords have got +1 bonus for symmetry. Now that may seem small, but it will definitely needed, I think, at their cost, and is kind of honing in on where the Great Swords would be. I love these tiny balance changes. They're very, very good. This is showing that the CA is really paying attention to the stats and the data and how units are performing. So Great Swords did need a bit of a buff, and +1 bonus for symmetry is a good one. Empire Spearmen with shields, -25 multiplayer cost. Halberdiers, +1 melee attack. Okay. Flagellants, Tattersouls, Minus 3 base damage, plus 4 AP damage. Ooh, that's a big buff for Flagellants and Tattersouls. Trading 3 base for 4 AP is actually a huge buff. Pistolier's 1 AP missile damage, plus 4 charge, plus 2 melee attack. Alright, they're going to definitely be more powerful and a little bit more capable defending themselves, but not much. But it's really that 1 AP missile damage is pretty big. Waywatchers, plus 1 second reload time, reduced projectile mass, cavalry has an easier time catching the unit, reduced accuracy, mainly noticeable at max range against small targets, hawkish precision, reduced to plus 15 AP. So this mainly noticeable at max range against small targets, that's for when these Waywatchers were dumpstering lords. So that will make a pretty big difference. Plus 1 second reload time is also huge, and reduced projectile match. So Waywatchers were pretty awesome, and you had to be very careful around them. And that's a reasonable nerf, it looks like. Sisters of the Thorn, plus 50 multiplayer cost. Alright, Sisters of the Thorn they are cav that have 2 different magical buffs, I think. Foot Squires, plus 1 bonus versus infantry. Ooh, that's a pretty big deal for a cheap unit like a Foot Squire. Or no, a Foot Squire are Bretonia's armored guys, I think. Are 600 gold? That's a big deal though, because they're right in the sweet spot for infantry, I think, if I'm thinking of the right one. I might not be thinking of the right. Plus 1 bonus versus infantry is good for anybody. Battle Pilgrims, plus 1 melee defense. Okay, so their Battle Pilgrims are going to last a little longer in combat. Grail Reliquae, minus 50 multiplayer cost. Okay. Graveguard with great weapons. Wow, plus 2 bonus versus infantry. So these Graveguard with great weapons, I did do some testing on them recently, and they were pretty weak. So this plus 2 bonus versus infantry is significant and needed. Because the Graveguard with great weapons, where they differ from the greatswords, is they have less melee attack and melee defense, I believe. And they're meant to be a similar unit, and they should have less stats because they will receive more heals over time, but I think that's pretty good for the Graveguard with great weapons. A good buff, a reasonable one. Orc Error Boys, Savage Orc Error Boys, minus 1 missile damage, plus 1 AP. Boo. I guess in general the Greenskins only have the one unit that does AP missile damage, so plus 1 AP for those guys. I think they have 4, it's going to 5, something like that. Bestigor Herd, minus 1 melee attack. Okay. Well, see, Bestigors seemed like they were in a pretty good place. Maybe they were a little too powerful, I don't know. Minus 1 melee attack is a big debuff. Knights of the Realm, plus 2 melee defense, so they're going to be more tanky. Pegasus Knights, plus 2 melee defense. And Royal Pegasus Knights, plus 2 melee defense. So really making these Cav and Flying Cav more tanky in melee. Men-at-Arms with Polearms, plus 1 bonus versus large. Darkshires with shields, plus 25 MP cost. Okay, I think that is pretty darn reasonable. Darkshires are a very, very nice unit. And they have silver shields, I think. So they're good at exchanging. They have a bit of short range, but they do a lot of AP damage. So plus 25 multiplayer cost is pretty good. Queek Headtaker, minus 50 multiplayer cost, plus 4 bonus versus infantry. Nice. That's a nice little buff, actually. Warlord Bonebreaker, minus 50 multiplayer cost. We'll keep going up here. Centaurs with throwing axes, minus 2 ammo, remove splash attacks. Okay, that's fair. And they shouldn't have splash attacks with throwing axes. Yeah, minus 2 ammo. So they're going to run out of ammo faster. Centaurs with throwing axes are very good little units. Centaurs remove splash attacks, good. Lore Masters of Hoeth, minus 50 multiplayer cost, okay. Hell Pit Abomination, minus 3 bonus versus large, plus 4 melee attack. I don't know if that's a net. I think that's a net buff. That because melee attack is so important, and that'll help when they're fighting anything, and the bonus versus large is only when they're fighting a large. So that's a definite buff that'll make them much better in fighting against blobs of infantry and stuff like that. So the Plague Priests on the Plague Furnace, minus 2 melee defense. Okay, that'll make them. Those Plague Furnaces can be a little rough to face. So that'll make them a little easier to take down. Skink Chief, plus 50 multiplayer cost on foot and on a Pterodon. Okay. I don't know if that's needed or not, but because they don't have very much armor, they are easy to take down, but they're used pervasively because they're quite good. I think that's a Revivification Bastillodon, my plus 25 melee or multiplayer cost. Okay, that seems reasonable. Feral Cold Ones, plus 4 charge bonus. That's a pretty big deal, actually. Plus 4 charge bonus. Feral Cold Ones really die fast, but they are good on the charge. They're fast, they're good for picking up units, and they're cheap. So I think that's a pretty reasonable plus 4 charge bonus for them. Feral Bastillodons, plus 4 charge bonus, plus 4 melee defense. Okay, that's a big deal because Feral Bastillodons are only 700 gold. Plus 4 melee defense is going to make them a lot more tanky. Questing Knights, plus 2 AP damage, minus 2 base damage, can now use Lance Formation. Okay, Questing Knights just got a lot better. Plus 2 AP damage. Grail Guardians can now use Lance Formation. Chameleon Skinks, minus 2 melee defense. Alright, so not like you can catch them, but if you ever do catch them, they'll be easier to beat up. Chaos Warriors, all plus 3 morale. It's a good change, I think. Yeah. Getting those Chaos Warriors more morale, they'll fight longer, they'll be a little more robust. Chaos Warriors plus 2 charge bonus, good. Orc Big Guns plus 1 charge bonus, good. Karen Wraith plus 2 charge bonus, I think that's a good little change to Karen Wraith too. Kazrak, the One Eye, plus 2 melee defense, so he'll be more tanky. Knights of the Blazing Sun, minus 50 multiplayer cost. That's a pretty big reduction, so we should see more Knights of the Blazing Sun on the field. Silver Helms with shields, plus 6 charge bonus. Whew. That'll make them better at cycle charging. They are very weak in melee combat. Horned Ones, plus 1 charge bonus. Okay. Horned Ones are already really good all-arounders, but plus 1 charge bonus will make them even better. Cold One Dread Knights, plus 2 melee defense. Yikes. Cold One Dread Knights are pretty good as well. I mean, pretty decent. So they'll be more tanky. Okay. Cetra, Charity of the Gods, minus 100 in multiplayer cost. Cool. Screaming Skull Catapult, minus 50 multiplayer cost. Good. Ushapti with Great Bows, minus 1 ammo, and Chosen of the Gods, minus 1 ammo. So they're just, these Ushapti with Great Bows and Chosen of the Gods are very good units. They have great range. They seem like they're in a good place. So minus 1 ammo is just going to pull them down a little bit, but not a whole lot. They'll still be fantastic. Kemrian War Sphinx in mounted versions, minus 8 charge bonus, minus 200 health. Okay. So the War Sphinx, the War Sphinx has been debuffed a lot. Rune of Wrath and Ruin, increased target range of maximum to 150. That is fantastic, but a maximum of 4 uses. I think that's fair, but that range of 150 is really good because the range on Rune of Wrath and Ruin was so short. Often you had to get, I think it was 75 meters before. I don't know. You have to get right up to a unit before you could cast it. It was pretty awful. Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, same. Increased target range to 150. Maximum of 3 uses. Boo. I mean, I know it's really good. You only need 2 uses to get your value out of these spells. Out of these runes. So 2 uses with either, you'll get the value out of them. So max 3 uses, okay, for the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and maximum 4. So that actually separates, I think that's a good change because it separates the use of the Runesmith versus the Rune Lord. Because your Runesmith gets 1 more use, and the key is that they both have the same speed debuff. So it might be better to bring a Runesmith rather than a Rune Lord if you want to use your Rune of Wrath and Ruin to debuff the speed of something by 48%. Plus you have a range of 150, so I think that's a definite buff to the Runesmith versus the Rune Lord. I mean, the Rune Lord is much more powerful against infantry and only has a max of 3 uses, so I'm going to have to test that. So ability changes. There's Dragon Breath, plus 7% projectile damage and projectile AP damage. Slightly improved the accuracy of Star Dragon. Yikes. Lance Formation, remove negative stat modifiers. Okay. Murderous Prowess, plus 30% vigor changed to plus 18% vigor. Ouch. That's a big nerf. Murderous Mastery, plus 30% vigor changed to plus 18% vigor. No! Old Grumblers, plus 18% vigor, changed to plus 9% vigor. Oh, that is awful. I mean, it's probably fair. I mean, the Grumbling Guard are fantastic, and it's because of that vigor buff. Like, if you're fighting with someone, you keep them fresh for the whole battle. With 9% vigor, they probably won't stay fresh if they're around them the whole time. So that it will degrade over the battle, even if you have your old Grumblers, and so will they. So, because fundamentally, it was like your Grumbling Guard never got tired. It's like having infinite vigor when they have this aura, and if you have someone around you, it's the same for them. So that's a huge nerf, though. Sheesh. We'll see how that plays out, but Grumbling Guard just got a lot less valuable. They're still a very good unit, mind you. Regrowth and upgraded regrowth plus 1 mana cost. Okay, good. Fate of Buna plus 2 mana cost. That's good too, I think. You've been seeing Fate of Buna is a really good spell, but it can be pretty crushing. So I like that. Savage Domination plus 4 mana cost. I don't know that one. Fiery Convocation minus 1 mana. Fiery Convocation upgraded minus 3, and Liber Bubonicus minus 5 second duration. I think that's a good idea as well, because that's so big. So that is the changes for the Make War Not Love February 14th, 2018 patch notes. Jesus, this really bums me out. The old Grumblers, my plus 18% vigor changed to plus 9% vigor. That's such a big nerf. And here's the thing is, I think that's a huge nerf to Murderous Mastery as well, and Murderous Prowess. Like, that is massive nerf. I mean, I get it. Murderous Prowess and Murderous Mastery are very good already, but the Dark Elves have to get there. So you can get a big lead on a Dark Elf infantry, and when they get this Murderous Prowess, it just doesn't matter as much. But that vigor makes a big difference, because it might pop them from very tired to tired or whatever. So that's a pretty big nerf, I think, because vigor affects your armor a lot and your melee defense. So it's just going to make Dark Elf units easier to finish off for that 90 seconds they get the buff. But this old Grumblers, yikes. They're an outstanding unit. They're an essential unit in a lot of builds. So we'll see if that's too much. I'm going to have to do some testing. And I do have the data for that test from testing I did previously, looking at how much that buff was worth in combat. So hopefully we can get off a good test and see how big of a nerf that's been. But that Rune of Wrath and Rune increased target to 150 range, and max 4 uses is not such a big deal, because you only need 2 to get your value. But that 150 meter range is a big deal. That's going to allow you to really have a lot more flexibility in using it. So I would say 1 buff for the Dowie and 1 big nerf. But a fair nerf, probably. Like, the Grumbling Guard are an amazing unit. So, I mean, I don't know if it's fair. I don't like it, because I really like the Grumbling Guard. So, that's it for the balance changes and the patch notes. So, hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.